The world does not crown the warm-hearted. It devours them. It bows only to the sharp, the patient, the cold, those who carve their path with precision, not pity. You were told since childhood to be kind, to help, to be humble, to soften your edges for the comfort of others. Look around you. Do you see the soft in command? Do you see the meek holding the scepter? No. The throne belongs to those who think 5 moves ahead, who smile only when that smile is a snare, who detach decision from the tremor of emotion. These are the ones who turn silence into a blade, charm into bait, intellect into a scalpel. Warmth makes you predictable, coldness makes you feared, and fear, more than love, bends the world to your will. Do not confuse this with cruelty for its own sake. A cold genius does not waste his fire on vanity or chaos. He learns from pain instead of bathing in it. He files away betrayal like a surgeon cataloging cases. He knows that every act of injustice, every act of contempt, toward him is simply data, precious, instructive data. The victim mindset is a narcotic for the spirit. It whispers lies about destiny. It romanticizes suffering as if tragedy alone were a crown. But tragedy without transformation is just rot. The cold genius sees failure not as shame but as blueprint. While others weep over fairness, he sharpens his method. While they explain their pain, he rewrites his ending. That is why in the ruins of the sentimental, the cold genius builds his empire. The cold genius wastes no breath, begging the world for mercy. He knows no cavalry is coming. No savior will ride into his life with answers. Every man who waits for rescue is already defeated, bound by the illusion that circumstances are exceptional enough to justify inaction. Pain, betrayal, loss, these are not interruptions but initiations. The average man reacts with storms of emotion, spiraling downward in self-pity. But the cold genius studies the wreckage like an architect studies ruins, mapping every crack, every weak point, every hidden load-bearing wall. His gaze is clinical, not cruel. He learns what was missed, who can be trusted, and what must never be repeated. Through this dissection of disaster, humiliation becomes intelligence, and intelligence becomes strategy. If you have listened this far, it means something in you rejects the comfort of weakness. Good. That impulse is rare, and rarer still is the discipline to feed it. This space, these words, are for those who refuse to die soft, for those who would rather wield silence like a blade than waste it on begging for understanding. Subscribe now, because this is not entertainment. This is training. Every move from here will sharpen you. Every lesson will strip away what makes you predictable. And predictability is death in a world built on manipulation. Stay here, and you will not just survive the game, you will own it. To rule your life, you must kill the part of you that asks for fairness. Justice, as the masses dream of it, is a child's fantasy. Systems are rigged, hierarchies are fortified, and those at the top did not arrive by playing honorably with the weak. The cold genius does not waste energy demanding justice from a machine designed to ignore him. Instead, he becomes the exception, the anomaly so precise and unshakable that no rigged game can predict his moves. He upgrades his armor in silence, concealing every transformation until his reappearance is unrecognizable. By the time his enemies realize he has returned, he is no longer playing the same game. He has redesigned the board. While others broadcast their wounds for sympathy, the cold genius weaponizes his pain. Every betrayal becomes an X-ray of human nature. Every failure becomes a recalibration of tactics. This detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to let feelings dictate the outcome. He walks into every room scanning for the true centers of gravity. Who holds influence? Who fears confrontation? Who hides behind charm? Who will collapse under pressure? This awareness, stripped of sentiment, allows him to move like a phantom in plain sight. His power is not in noise, but in inevitability. Most will never respect you if you wear the mask of a victim. They will nod, they will sympathize with empty eyes, but deep down they smell the weakness. They know you are safe to ignore, safe to discard. Respect is not given to those who bleed openly. It is given to those who can wound without warning. The moment you stop seeking emotional permission for your actions, you become dangerous. The moment you become unreadable, you become a threat. In a world built on the exploitation of predictability, unpredictability is your first weapon. This discipline demands that you cut what drags you downward, whether it wears the face of a friend, a lover, or the familiar job that suffocates your ambition. Sentiment is loyalty to the past, and the past has no place in a sharpened future. When you release what slows you, it will not go quietly. It will plead, guilt you, summon memories to weaken your resolve. This is the moment of truth. Either you submit to nostalgia, or you prove to yourself that nothing outweighs your mission. The cold genius chooses clarity over comfort, results over regret. Every time. Look at any empire, any figure who bent history to their will. You will find decisions that shattered hearts. And yet, those very decisions were the pillars of their power. Because hesitation is the true executioner of greatness. To lead, to conquer, to dominate your own life, you must accept the black truth. Sometimes the right choice will feel like betrayal. It will tear at you. It will claw at the edges of your conscience. But that pain is only the old self, the soft self, dying. The cold genius understands that sparing feelings can cost empires, that delaying out of compassion can invite disaster. He does not confuse sentiment with morality. Sentiment clouds. Vision invites compromise and makes you negotiable. And if you are negotiable, you are already owned by someone else's will. The cold genius walks away from anything that dilutes his purpose, no matter how loudly the world calls it love, duty, or loyalty. Once the leash of sentiment is cut, something remarkable happens. You become untouchable. You move without telegraphing your intentions. You strike without the clumsy noise of warning or the stink of desperation. You are no longer hostage to your own emotions, nor to the expectations of those who try to manage you through them. This is not about being a robot. It is about becoming precise, deliberate, surgical. You know exactly when to act and when to disappear. You understand that time is a blade, and you refuse to dull it on petty quarrels or endless explanations. Every action becomes a calculated investment in your future self, and every silence becomes a fortress that nothing emotional can breach. In that silence, your enemies panic, your rivals miscalculate, and those who underestimated you begin to fear a mind they cannot read. The next time hesitation creeps in, you must ask yourself, is this truly wrong, or does it merely make me uncomfortable? That question is the scalpel that separates instinct from illusion. Greatness is rarely born in the cradle of comfort. It emerges from the furnace of discomfort, where decisions cut against the grain of sentiment. The cold genius accepts that clarity is rarely accompanied by pleasure. It comes instead in moments of stillness after the storm, when you know you acted with purpose, even if it cost you approval, even if it made you the villain in someone else's story. To lead your own life is to accept exile from the herd, to accept that the crowd will misunderstand, resent, and misrepresent you, but their noise is proof you are moving beyond their reach. In that separation, you find the discipline to act like a knife in the dark, precise, silent, and cold. Emotional distance is the foundation of this discipline, not just distance from others, but from yourself, from the very impulses that demand instant reaction. Emotions can be useful servants, but they make disastrous masters. Under their control, you become predictable, a puppet whose strings are pulled by anger, guilt, or hope. The cold genius refuses to be pulled. He can feel the surge of emotion without being moved by it. Anger may flare, but patience dictates his response. Desire may burn, but timing decides the strike. Betrayal may cut deep, but strategy decides the counter. This mastery over reaction is what makes him unbreakable, because no one can control what they cannot provoke. When others seek to draw him into chaos, they find instead a wall of stillness. And in that stillness, they reveal themselves completely. A ruler who acts from anger or desperation is already lost, for he becomes a pawn in the hands of those who know how to trigger him. Emotional loyalty, whether to a person, an idea, or an outdated version of yourself, is the most subtle of chains. It disguises itself as honor, as identity, as tradition. The cold genius breaks it without ceremony. He does not announce his detachment, he lives it. He stops needing to be liked, understood, or approved of. His silence is no longer an absence to explain, but a weapon to wield. Every word unspoken forces others to fill in the gaps with their own fears. Every unanswered provocation leaves the other side, exposed, desperate to guess his intentions. In this way, silence becomes sharper than any argument, While others rush to be heard, the cold genius listens. He lets others speak, reveal, and overexpose themselves. Ego compels them to fill the air, to dominate the noise, to prove their cleverness. He takes notes instead, memorizing weaknesses, cataloging insecurities, studying the gravitational pulls of fear, greed, vanity, and desire. These are not judgments, but instruments, tools for precise manipulation when the time is right. He knows that manipulation cannot harm him if he understands its architecture, if he has rehearsed the angles before they are played against him. And when the strike comes, it is without warning, without drama, a shift so subtle that his opponent may not even realize they have already lost until the board is cleared. This is the elegance of true detachment. Conflict turned into opportunity, enemies turned into specimens, drama turned into a chess match only. One player understands. Power is not chaos. It is a system, a code, a language, and the cold genius treats it as such. He does not rely on luck or the hope that things will work out. He studies, dissects, and decodes. Just as a physicist understands gravity, he learns the psychological gravity that moves people: fear, desire, envy, greed, and the hunger for status. Every interaction becomes an equation to solve, every promise a contract with hidden clauses, every smile a mask with seams, waiting to split. The average person walks through life reacting to the surface of events. The cold genius drills into the bedrock, seeking the unseen levers of influence. He does not run from manipulation. He studies it until it loses its power over him. But this awareness begins with brutal self-study. You cannot master the levers of others until you have mapped your own. What triggers you? What persuades you? Where are you blind? And who could use that blindness against you? The cold genius faces these questions without flinching, because he knows that if he does not master himself, someone else will. This is why he removes sentiment from the learning process. There is no failure, only data. Every setback is catalogued, every humiliation filed for later use, every small win measured and refined. Over time, his strategy becomes immune to the intoxication of praise or the sting of insult. He no longer plays for the approval of the crowd, but for the inevitability of the result. In this, emotional intelligence becomes more than empathy. It becomes a weapon, telling him exactly when to flatter, when to intimidate, when to vanish, and when to deliver silence like a sentence. The cold genius is always prepared. He reads the histories not for nostalgia but for patterns, the rise and fall of empires, the tactics of tyrants, the seduction of power, the fatal errors of the arrogant. He studies not only the victors but also the vanquished, because in their ruin lie the warnings most ignore. When he enters a room, he reads it like a battlefield. Who seeks dominance but lacks skill? Who masks ambition behind false humility? Who fears direct confrontation and will fold under sustained pressure? With these assessments, he decides who to ignore, who to manipulate, and who to replace. Position, not reaction, is his doctrine. Patience, not haste, is his ally. In a world obsessed with speed, he knows that stillness is an advantage. While others race to show their hand, he gathers every piece of the puzzle before placing a single move. This positional thinking is what makes him unassailable. He arrives only when the victory is already certain. By the time his opponents realize he is in the game, they are already surrounded by the consequences of their own mistakes. He wastes no energy on battles that do not advance his mission, and no time on proving himself to the unworthy. His reputation, carefully engineered, moves ahead of him, clearing paths without him lifting a finger. When his presence fills the room, people prepare twice as hard, speak half as much, and guard themselves instinctively. And that is when he has already won. To become a cold genius, you must first abandon the camouflage of modesty when the world only respects presence. Modesty in the mouth of the powerful is strategy. In the mouth of the weak, it is submission. Your reputation must not whisper intelligence. It must demand silence the moment you enter a room. Mediocrity fears two things above all: clarity and precision. And you must radiate both without apology. This is not about vanity. It is about engineering an aura so sharp that even before you speak, those around you second-guess themselves. Let them call you arrogant. Let them say you are too direct, too calculated. The discomfort you cause is not a flaw. It is proof that your presence is reordering the hierarchy. Weak minds prefer you humble, soft-spoken, agreeable. Why? Because it makes you safe for them. But the moment you remove the filters and speak with unshaken clarity, the moment you execute without hesitation, you become a mirror they cannot stand to face. And weak people hate mirrors. They will call you cold, they will call you dangerous, and they will be right. In cultivating this presence, you are not simply participating in the game, you are reshaping it. You are teaching everyone around you that their comfort is not your concern, that your mission is not a democracy. Over time, this forces distance, a protective space that guards your time, your focus, and your energy from being consumed by mediocrity's hunger for validation. Think like Machiavelli. Build a presence so deliberate that even in your absence, it governs the room. People must fear wasting your time. They must measure their words before they reach you. They must feel that your mind is not a playground for casual chatter, but a fortress they approach with caution. This is not achieved by being everywhere, by seeking to please, or by offering endless explanations. It is built through scarcity, by being strategic with your visibility, by appearing only when it matters, by speaking only when the impact is unavoidable. Your words must echo. Your silences must feel like judgment. The cold genius knows that comfort breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds disrespect. That is why his presence is rare, his attention a privilege. When he moves, people remember. When he disappears, they feel the absence. Like a warning, he does not compete with mediocrity, he overshadows it. His name is spoken in whispers, his reputation a shadow that enters the room before he does. This is not about fear for fear's sake, but about building a psychological advantage. When others hesitate in your presence, you already control the terms. When they second-guess themselves before challenging you, the game is already yours. True power is not in how you move, it is in how others move around you. To build this kind of influence, you must become the embodiment of discipline in a world drunk on impulse. Be calm when others are frantic, precise when others are vague, unavailable when others are desperate. Let your excellence be so exacting that mere competence shatters against it. And above all, never explain yourself. The moment power starts explaining, it begins to justify. The moment it justifies, it concedes ground. Mystery is not emptiness. It is a force multiplier. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them assume the worst. Let their uncertainty drain their confidence long before the game begins. Reputation, when crafted with intent, is more powerful than presence. It works for you, even when you say nothing, even when you are not in the room. This is the final form of the cold genius, not merely intelligent, not merely disciplined, but a living warning to mediocrity. The world does not belong to the loud, the sentimental, or even the merely talented. It belongs to those who feel everything but show nothing, to those who calculate in silence while others waste their time reacting, to those who take pain, betrayal, and rejection and refine them into a weapon sharper than any blade. Once you understand this, you stop asking for the world's permission, you stop needing its warmth, you begin to demand its submission. The cold genius is forged in refusal, the refusal to be predictable, the refusal to be owned by emotion, the refusal to play by rules written for the obedient. He does not waste a single breath explaining his motives to those unworthy of them. Every decision is weighed on a scale where only two measures matter. Does it serve the mission, or does it serve the ego? If it serves only the ego, it is discarded without hesitation. This is how he moves with such clarity. His compass is not swayed by sentiment, guilt, or the need to be understood. He understands that every second spent defending himself is a second lost in advancing his position. And when others try to draw him into their storms, their arguments, their dramas, their petty feuds, he remains still. Stillness is not inaction. It is the preparation of the strike. Those who mistake it for weakness will never see the blow coming. When the cold genius moves, he moves with the inevitability of a falling blade, silent, precise, irreversible. And that is why he wins. Not because he is the loudest voice, but because his voice comes last, when all other noise has collapsed into exhaustion. By then, his decision is the only one left standing, and the game quietly and completely belongs to him. Power is never accidental. It is the product of patterns understood and leveraged. The cold genius treats life as a laboratory, not a theater. He experiments, tests, and refines until his strategies operate like clockwork. Every interaction is observed, every outcome measured. He knows that behind every act of kindness lies an agenda, behind every alliance a condition, behind every word an intent, spoken or hidden. This understanding frees him from illusions. Where others see friends, enemies, or rivals, he sees variables, each to be placed, moved, or removed according to the needs of the larger design. He does not take offense, he takes notes. He does not react, he repositions. And this positioning over time makes him untouchable. People find themselves adjusting to his rhythm without realizing it, lowering their voices in his presence, sharpening their arguments, before presenting them, hesitating to cross lines they would casually trample with others. They do not know why, but they feel it, the invisible architecture of respect he has built around himself. That architecture is reinforced by every calculated silence, every precise word, every refusal to be drawn into the emotional quicksand where the average person drowns. By the time they understand the structure, it's too late. They've already been moving within it, playing by his rules. The cold genius does not chase influence. He becomes the axis around which influence turns. This shift happens when you stop blending in, when you refuse the camouflage of average that the world insists you wear. You do not beg for a seat at the table. You make the table irrelevant by building your own. In doing so, you force others to recalibrate their orbits around you. Mediocrity will resent this. It always resents what it cannot consume or control. They will try to label you arrogant, ruthless, dangerous. But these words in their mouths are not insults. They are confessions of intimidation. And intimidation, used with precision, is a currency far more valuable than affection. Affection demands maintenance, reassurance, the slow erosion of your edge to keep others comfortable. Intimidation, on the other hand, demands only that you remain yourself, sharp, disciplined, untouchable. It forces others to prepare twice before engaging, to consider their words, to think before moving against you. This invisible pressure is the true weight of your presence, and it works for you even when you are silent. In time, the cold genius learns that real dominance is not in constant action, but in the ability to make others act differently simply because you exist. The transformation into a cold genius is not marked by a single moment, but by a series of deliberate deaths. The death of the victim, the death of the pleaser, the death of the man who once needed permission to act. Each loss is a rebirth into greater precision. You stop announcing your plans. You stop explaining your moves. You no longer waste words defending your right to win. Your silence becomes your armor, your stillness, your weapon. And those who once read you easily now find themselves staring into a mirror that reflects nothing back. That emptiness unsettles them because they can no longer predict you, and what cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. When you reach this point, power is no longer something you chase. It becomes the atmosphere you carry, the gravitational pull that bends rooms in your direction. Every failure behind you has been dissected, every betrayal catalogued, every mistake converted into strategic foresight. You no longer walk into situations hoping for advantage. You arrive knowing exactly where it lies. This is the state Machiavelli hinted at but never romanticized, a mastery of self so complete that external chaos becomes irrelevant. You do not move for applause, love, or recognition. You move because the move is necessary. This is the final form of the cold genius. Intelligence weaponized, emotion mastered, presence engineered. No chaos, no wasted motion, only results. You are no longer a participant in the petty games of the emotional. You are the architect of the field they play on, the unseen hand that rearranges the board before they realize the rules have changed. You feel everything, but you act only on what serves the mission. Pain becomes data. Betrayal becomes fuel. Rejection becomes proof that you are moving beyond the reach of the average. You do not seek understanding. You do not negotiate with weakness. You do not bow to the leash of sentiment. You are not here to comfort the world. You are here to command it. If these words cut through the softness that has held you back, act, subscribe, stay. This is not a sanctuary for the fragile, but a forge for the dangerous. Here, You will sharpen your mind until it slices. Through illusions, you will train your presence until it dominates without noise, and you will learn to move so coldly that mediocrity shivers in your shadow. Make your mind unbreakable. Make your presence unforgettable. And remember, you owe this world nothing but your domination. The next move is yours. Make it precise.